Hello, this is Donna Lewis with the Clark County Park District, and today I'm going to talk to you about what you can do to help migratory birds. So it's that time of year again when pretty soon the songbirds and other birds like some raptors and other species like ducks will be migrating. So I'm going to read this from this book real quick before, just a little small excerpt from this book called Flute's Journey. It's written and illustrated by Lynn Cherry. She writes some great kids books. This would be a great book for a little bit older kids. On a still, starry fall evening, if you listen carefully, you may hear the calls of hundreds of migratory songbirds as they fly overhead on their journey south to the tropical rainforests. Again in the spring, you may hear them way above, returning to their nesting sites in the cool woodlands of the north. So, what are migratory songbirds? They are birds that travel 2 times a year to and from the north and south. So, many birds travel in the summer from places like Central and South America north to North America. That's their breeding and nesting grounds. Then they'll travel back down south for the winter because most of these birds are insect eaters and they can't find their food during the winter months. So they travel down south to places like Costa Rica for the winter. That'd be great, right? But they don't have vehicles or airplanes to get them there. Some of these birds travel thousands of miles. So a migratory bird travels 2 times a year. And in just 1 year, the hummingbird, okay, in just one trip, the ruby-throated hummingbird, which lives in Ohio, travels 2,000 miles to get to where it needs to go. So from Central South America, up to Central America, I believe, for the hummingbird, up to North America, places like Ohio, Maryland, places like that. So it goes 500 miles just over the Gulf of Mexico. Now, in history, sailors would report birds mysteriously appearing on their boat and didn't know why all of a sudden these groups of birds, bunches of birds would end up on their boat and just stay there for hours and then take off. These were migratory birds, so things like yellow warblers and hummingbirds and other species that were migrating and had to take a break. So on their journey, they're going to stop, okay, and take a break at places like a park, maybe your backyard, maybe a tree in a parking lot at a store or a shopping center, okay? So they need to refuel, they need to find more bugs, little grubs, little caterpillars maybe. Now when they're traveling here in the spring, they're gonna find lots of that food. In the fall, it's probably gonna be more difficult. So they're gonna stop at these places to refuel. Now, they face a lot of dangers on these travels, okay? So how can you help with these dangers? So one of the things you can do, one of the problems with migratory birds, things like this little wood thrush, is really affected when it travels, okay? So it's a wooded species, but you'll find it. When I used to live in Beaver Creek, I found a wood thrush in my front yard one day, just hopping around looking for food. It was pretty cool, and he was just stopping to take a break and refuel. And what would happen if I'd cut all my trees down on my yard before he came back, or I had a cat outside waiting to attack him, okay? So what if he ran into my window? So one of the biggest problems are windows and lights. So bird collisions, about 50% of bird collision mortality happens on home windows. They see a reflection in their window. They don't get it. It just looks like the reflection of the tree or the sky, and they try to fly through and then bam, they fall to the ground. So what can you do if you find one? Put it in a box for about an hour or so in the dark, you know, a shoebox or something good for its size, and then check on it, take the box outside, see how it's doing. It might be okay, but sometimes it's a fatal thing for them. So the easiest way to stop birds from hitting your windows is to apply something on the outside so they don't see the reflection. It breaks up the reflection. So lines, okay, of a wipe off marker on your window, window clings, even letting your kids paint on the outside of your windows with some tempera paint. It lasts for quite some time. You can wipe it off when you're done with it, put something else up, okay? So there's window clings you can get from an organization called abcbirds.org. They're a great organization. They have all kinds of information on what you can do to help your birds. Another thing that's really dangerous to them is the lights on communication towers, the lights on buildings at night. So we can encourage our local cities to turn their lights out at night to help birds, because birds get disoriented when they're traveling. Most migratory birds travel at night. They get disoriented when they're traveling by these lights. So they go down for the night, maybe in a tree in that city. They wake up and they're surrounded by windows. So then they've got to deal with the windows. So these poor birds have a lot of issues as they're traveling. So make your yard habitat friendly by planting natives, all right? Avoid non-natives as well as possible. You'll see I have some natives behind me. Now, the Queen Anne's lace is not native, but it's not invasive either. So as far as I've seen and heard, a lot of butterflies like it. It doesn't seem to be an invasive species, but things like the purple coneflower and black-eyed Susans are native species. We have blazing star here. These are really great native plants for butterflies and birds. Keeping your cat indoors, okay? Cats are one of the biggest issues for birds. Your cat, Fluffy or Smokey or whatever his name is, I have Boots. They can kill tons of birds, and together, just in the United States alone, they kill 1 billion birds a year. That's so sad. Now, I love cats. I have fostered 2 litters of cats so far this year. I'm on my 2nd litter, but it's very important to get them spayed and neutered and to keep them inside if at all possible, all right? So I know that can be hard sometimes, or if you see a nest in your yard, put the cat inside during nesting season or at night. It's not only safe for the birds, it's a lot safer for your cat because of all the cars and predators and just sometimes mean people. There's a lot that can happen to your cat outside. Also, those native plants that you plant attract a lot of the good stuff that you want in your yard. So these are things you can do. So avoiding pesticides is another thing. So pesticides kill a lot of birds every year. Things like the neonicotinoids, that is a huge word. They call them neonics. So when you buy plants at the nursery, make sure they don't have that in them. They're very dangerous to birds and our bees. So we like our bees too, right? They give us a lot of great things like honey and a lot of our fruits out there, a lot of our flowers. So avoid those pesticides. Decon, that is used for rats. Don't put harmful pesticides out for your rodents because they have unintended consequences and can kill things like raptors, because that sometimes it doesn't kill the rodent right away. So then a raptor comes down and feeds on that rodent and it dies from that. Or our cat might catch that rat or mouse. Our bird in our backyard, living in our backyard, may be affected by it because they come down and grab the mouse or the insect that was affected by that chemical. And kids have been known to be affected too. So our pets and our children, not good. So try to avoid pesticides, because we know if pesticides are harming things like insects, they're going to harm other things as well. So if you're trying to get rid of a rodent, snap traps are the best way to go. So help other organizations like ABC, birds.org, or your Audubon Society. Come and volunteer at the park like us. So you can come and volunteer to remove invasive species like honeysuckle and garlic mustard, things that don't help a native, a wooded area. They're actually harmful to a wooded area. You can help plant native plants and help to educate others about the great things that they can do to help our animals out there. You can also put feeders out. So put feeders out for your birds. Now, remember, if you put feeders out for your birds, you're also going to feed raccoons and squirrels and other things. But it can be a lot of fun to watch them. If you don't want raccoons on your feeders, bring them in at night. Okay, put them in your garage at night or something. All right. So remember, we don't want to blame everybody else for what's happening out there to things like our migratory birds and our other species that live outside and say, oh, it's those farmers putting chemicals on the fields. Who eats that food? I do. You do. Okay. It's that big corporation that does it. And we probably buy things from that big corporation. So remember, it's up to us too, not just up to everybody else, all right? So we need to take some responsibility. So remember, you, Fred, Tom, Barbara, all right, Sally, whoever you are, all right? Emery, if you're watching this, all right? So Tavin, all right. So you can make a difference. all right? Many people doing many small things. This is a big thing for me. Can make a huge difference. So if all of us just do something small to help recycle, plant native plants, stop using pesticides, educate our friends about the good things that they can do to help, it makes a big, big difference. So remember that you, even if you're 7, okay, or 87, you can make a difference, all right? Thank you so much for watching today. Have a great day and enjoy the outdoors. It's beautiful out there today. Bye-bye.